Hello, Ruth.
Hi, Josh.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat with us. Really appreciate it. Everybody, we've known each other for a number of years. We've worked together for pretty much for the 10 years that I was in business.
Yeah.
One of our very first supporters, so really appreciate you having the chat with us today. So I guess to kick things off, can you just tell us a little bit about Springboard Vacations?
Yeah, sure. So my husband Warren and I started the company back in 2001. He was working at Tourism Australia at the time, and I was actually the sales and marketing manager or vice president at Newman South Pacific Vacations. So we just looked around at the industry, and at the time, most wholesalers were either dealing in the student market, so kind of 18 to 25, or they were doing seniors travel, which is what I was doing at Newman. So that was kind of the 60 plus age bracket. Nobody was really doing anything for the 30 to 55-year-olds, people that were becoming increasingly affluent, due to the tech boom and all the rest of it. So they were looking for vacations that were really different from either students or seniors. So we decided that that was an area that we could get involved in. So we started the company, took a big jump off the corporate wagon and went for it. Yep. Started off actually here at home and then expanded through the years. So we looked for hotels that were experiences in and of themselves, things that were different. They were a little hipper, cooler, funkier. They had something a bit different about them. They were either had historic significance, or they were just fun or very modern and quirky. So, we kind of looked for those kinds of things. When people arrived in cities, instead of doing, say, just a regular coach tour with 50 people around the city, we looked for bike tours, we looked for walking tours with Indigenous guides, we looked for things that were really just a different way of seeing a city, something that was a little bit more active, and just unique. And then, of course, that expanded. We had kids, so we decided, well, let's look at luxury family travel, because really nobody was doing that market. So we expanded into that. And then honeymoons and destination weddings. So really anything that fit that kind of age bracket.
So you honed in on some really great niches, and then you I guess you're really focused on or prioritized just being different, getting some real unique points of difference. And I guess to have something, ridiculously compelling to say when someone said to you, so Ruth, how are you different? Why should we work with you? Say, well, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some real things.
And the great thing about being a small company is that you can be really flexible. So finding niches that are not significant enough for a large company to take on, that's something that you can take on. So, for instance, we really knew there would be a good market for the Australian Open tennis. For 10 years, we went about trying to get that contract. It took us 10 years to do it, but it's turned out to be one of the best things that we ever did.
And it makes it a whole lot more fun, doesn't it? When you can, when you can, have a go at things that really excite you and make a success of them. That's great.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen you grow over those 10 years as well, which has been great. So I just wanted to move on. The travel trade, the distribution channel, it's something that a lot of tour and activity operators find really confusing, a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of operators out there, a lot of tour and activity operators that focus a lot on OTAs, online travel agents, but they also focus a lot on SEO, driving traffic to their site, generating a lot of direct bookings, and they don't really understand how the travel trade or the distribution channel works. So could you sort of break that down for us
absolutely
way?
It's I guess it used to be a very rigid thing that everybody followed along the same rules and the same lines, and that certainly has changed over the years. But traditionally you're looking at clients who go to visit travel agents, who come to a wholesaler who specialises in the destination that the clients want to travel to. And then we use an ITO to help us with on-ground arrangements, and then they go to the suppliers themselves. Okay. So clients, travel agents, wholesaler, ITO, product.
So as the way it was, in a rigid way, the travel agent wouldn't pretend to be the expert. They would quite openly say, we are using this particular wholesaler. The wholesaler would quite openly say, we have an inbound tour operator on the ground who manage end to end everything that happens for our clients, and they would then source the operators, the tour and activity operators.
I guess, there was always a little bit of wiggle room in there. For instance, as a wholesaler, we attended shows like the ATE, and we would talk directly to suppliers. And I would always, for you and I, for instance, our relationship was that I would come to you with marketing and ideas and for mill trips. But as far as rates and so on, we used an ITO for doing that. And if clients needed to change anything on the ground while they were traveling, that's also where the ITO came in.
So even though your expertise in Australia meant that you could actually come directly to me, and we could talk about ideas, and we could actually work together. You always sent me back through the ITO, the inbound tour operator who was on the ground in Australia, because that's who you booked everything through.
That's correct. And it made it one single point where if the client needed, let's say if there was a weather situation and clients needed to change their tours around or things like that, that they could go directly to somebody in their time zone to help them. And ITOs have had a 24/7 helpline, and I'll be honest, I'm not that keen on waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it was always been great. On the ground support as well.
Yes,
great.
So what sort of business is Springboard?
So these days we have changed. When we first started, we were about 99% wholesale. So most of our business came through retail travel agents. With the advent of the recession, everybody got very creative. We all started working around and trying to find different ways of finding business. And we always knew when we started Springboard in 2001 that the writing was on the wall, that chain of command, I guess, was on its way out and things were changing. So we started working directly with consumers. So we now do probably more consumer direct than we do wholesale business. That's kind of been how we've evolved in the last 18 years. And that's been fabulous. That's kind of brought a whole different way of doing business to what we do. Okay,
so the links came out of the chain, and that was okay with the travel agents that you previously worked with, or I guess it was just everyone needed to adapt.
Yes, I think everybody had to adapt. Obviously, there was a little bit of resistance at first, but honestly, everybody had to survive. And the way that I always presented this with our staff is that you need to be adding value to the equation. If you are not in your segment adding a value, then there is no point in having you. You may as well be taken out of that system. Then is no point to it. You need to be adding value.
Okay, great. So tour operators and activity operators, a lot of them, we find and we hear and we see globally that there's a reluctance from many to work with travel partners. Possibly they don't understand them and the way they work, but a lot of them say they find it really hard to identify the right partners for their product. They feel overwhelmed about doing that, and therefore they don't. And they also talk about the commissions. A lot of them talk about their reluctance to find let's call it a 25% commission in their pricing structure to be able to pay a travel partner to on-sell their tours. Now, I've obviously got my views on this, but I'd love to hear it from you. Would you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have plenty of thoughts on that. It is hard to find the right people, and every wholesaler has a different personality, a different market segment that they're going for. They have a different history, and they have a different database of clients. So it is important to understand who these people are and whether or not they're good to work with you. For instance, at Springboard, we have always been really keen to find new product that's different and unusual, and we are really open to trying new things. I know a lot of other people want to wait and see until a product is really established in the market before they take it on. So it is important to find the right partners, and everybody is different. So that is a challenge, but attending shows like ATE and so on will help you understand who everybody. I think the tourism boards, are pretty good at helping you find the right partnerships as well. But as far as the commissions are concerned, that it's really not an additional expense. If you think about it this way, let's say your product costs $1,000. So if you go to a consumer, they will pay you $1,000. If you go to a travel agent, they would pay $900 for that, and they would make $100 on that transaction. wholesaler like ourselves, we would pay $800 for that product. So that would be different again. And then an ITO would pay $700 for that.
Yep.
So everybody needs to make money. If the chain is not healthy, then it doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah.
But the difference is that when you're paying me $800 instead of $1,000, you're not paying for any marketing. I'm actually paying for the marketing of your product.
Yeah.
I am using my database, my contacts, my travel agents, my consumers to get business to you. And you only pay me when I sell your product.
Yeah.
There's no risk to this at all for you.
Yeah.
And to be honest, out of the $1,000 that you're charging to a customer, you're probably spending $300 on marketing, SEO research, all of that kind of thing. You are spending that money anyway, so you're probably still only getting $700.
Yeah.
But what this does is it gives you the world as your oyster. It gives you an opportunity to find clients that you will never find on your own, no matter how much research you do yourself. So I honestly don't think it costs you a cent, and it gives you a much bigger market to work from.
And I guess when you're working with really great travel partners like Springboard, who have such a keen insight and knowledge about your product, and also they have such a great reputation, but the places in which they're promoting your tours or your products are,
totally different.
You'll be sitting down. It might be at a trade show. It might be your team that are speaking directly with consumers. People are saying, "So, Ruth, what are we going to do in Sydney, Australia? Tell me, what do you do there? Who do you use?" And you'll say, "Well, let me tell you about the experience I've got for you. This is what we do. We don't just have a platform that we slap up 15 or 16 different products for you to choose from. I'm going to tell you what I recommend, because this is the only company that we work with, and we work with them for a reason, because we've handpicked them because they're the best." So you can't. That's the type of distribution that really you'll never have an opportunity to tap into yourself.
Yeah, and because we're based in the US and we've been here for over 20 years, we really understand American travelers. And let me tell you, American travelers are different from travelers from Europe. So I do a fair bit in the South American market and the Mexico market, and they are totally different consumers as well. So we have the benefit of knowing about the products and having expertise in the products down there, but we also understand what the traveler is looking for. We spend a lot of time talking with our clients, making sure that we really understand what they're looking for in their vacation. So what is good for one person is not good for another, and that really allows us to customize itineraries and make sure that the clients are really happy with the experiences that they're going to have in Australia.
Yep, fantastic. I just wanted to ask you now, so obviously we've talked about the benefits of working with travel partners. We've had a motorbike just fly past and we go deaf. Now, how easy is it, or how challenging is it to work with a travel partner, or with a company like yourself? Is it a really difficult thing for a tour operator or for an activity operator to get an opportunity to pitch and ultimately succeed in generating sales via your company?
No, if it's a product that's really suitable for our market, we are always on the lookout for new and interesting things. It needs to be authentic. It needs to work for our market. It needs to have the right pricing. It needs to have an authenticity about it. That people are looking, if they're coming to Australia, they want an experience that's Australian. They don't want something that's the same as what they could do in the Caribbean or something else. They want something that's uniquely Australian. So so long as it kind of covers off on all of those things, then you'll find that people are eager to find new product. And it's not that we're dismissing old products, it's just that the market is constantly evolving. What clients want is constantly evolving. And honestly, the best partners we have are people that are constantly thinking, is this the right thing? And they're changing up their product to suit market trends.
Yeah. And so how do they get on your radar? How do they attract your attention?
The best thing to do, honestly, is to come and see us in our office. And I know that is a big ask. Certainly trade shows like ATE and so on, or road shows with the tourism boards, those kinds of things are great ways of getting introductions.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then once we know about you, then getting our staff trained, and you can do that by webinars, Skype training. The tourism boards will do it on your behalf. Whenever we have new staff, we bring the tourism boards in to do training with our new guys, just to give them a basic training. Even being involved in things like the Aussie Specialist program, because we use that as a basic program for our staff when they first start. So there are lots of opportunities to be introduced, and then once you have established a relationship, coming into the market on a regular basis, honestly, there's nothing like it. It really helps our staff feel confident in selling the product.
So you'd legitimately be receptive to a random tour or activity operator you'd never heard of before, who sent you an email out of the blue or a presentation out of the blue or grabbed your attention in some way, and if you thought it was the right fit for your clients, you would, with open arms, welcome them into your office to speak to you or speak to your team, and then get an opportunity to start building that relationship.
Yeah, I think especially we would probably go to a tourism board to say, hey, do you know about these guys? Are they legit? All the rest of it. And then, it's the industry is so small that you really kind of get to know people fairly quickly. So I think it's not difficult for us to bring somebody new into the fold if we think it's a suitable product, for sure.
Yep, okay. And lastly, any sort of key things that you're looking for in a new supplier? I know you talked about a few things, but sort of suitability or pricing. Is there anything that really you would say is a real key that you'd be looking for in a new supplier? Yeah,
I would say providing something unique and new and different that we don't already have in the market. There's no point in just copying what somebody else is doing. You need to have something that is uniquely different for your product. There's kind of a good saying about people should always give more value than they receive money in return, and I fully embrace that. I think that's an excellent thing. You need to
it's a good one.
Really offer great value as far as the content of what you're giving. And, there are lots of different markets. Know what your market is. Like, for instance, when we first started the Cool Capers with Kids program, I would say to people, do you cater for children? And they would say, oh, yeah, and some people tolerated children, and some people put rubber ducks and child-sized robes and things like either embrace it or don't, and be honest about it. Like, you can't be all things for all people. So pick what you are going to be suitable for. Make sure that you're 100% suitable, and don't try and do things that you're not set up to do. Like, just be really honest about that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Ruth, I've really enjoyed the chat. It's been enlightening, and this Spanish sun is setting much faster these days than it was last week. So we'll sign off there. Really appreciate it, and
no worries.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
It's great talking to you, and I'm always open to talk to new products. So
wonderful.
Let us know.
Much appreciated.
All right.
Thank you, Ruth. Bye bye.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.